So about 2 years ago we talked about Ireland, particularly in military conscription, and how it doesn't work for Ireland. It's not, Ireland shouldn't bring in conscription to put it straight. And I just want to talk about other countries just mainly too. And just particularly young people, particularly 18-year-old people my age, even in their 20s. A lot of young people are not willing to, go out and be shot and killed for the elites, for the politicians, for the NGOs, etc. Simple as that. A lot of, you see in Germany, a lot of the young people can't afford to buy a house, can't afford to live, can't afford to day-to-day living. They can't afford to have a family. And they're expected by their politicians to go out and take bullets for their country, even though their country doesn't care about them. And we've seen it many times over the years. Take what's happened in Iraq. People that went to Iraq. Iraq was a terrible war. It shouldn't have happened. But even Vietnam, etc. People that fought in the Vietnam War came home to America. They wouldn't give an anything. The US government didn't care about them after that. Pretty much you're only a number, as they say. And that's the sad reality. And again, these politicians, none of them are the force people. I wouldn't mind if the German Chancellor or the British Prime Minister that were the force people on the front line to take the shot for the nation, but they won't do it. They won't send their children. They send the only people's children, but they won't send their own children. They won't send themselves. So take what's happened in Germany. The German Chancellor is not going to go himself to go and fight whoever, the Russians, Chinese, whoever they may be. But just speaking on Ireland's behalf for a second, Ireland is not willing to, or any Irish person is not willing to die for any other country apart from our own country. If anybody ever comes to our island and attacks us, we will fight back, of course. But we're not willing to go out, and especially to Irish young people with this debate, I suppose the main thing is that, especially in Ireland, but Ireland never really had conscription, that's the Irish Free State, the Irish Republic now. We never had conscription. We had obviously when the British were here. But we never had conscription. We were not able to. We don't have a big army. We don't have facilities to train. And obviously it would cost a huge, insane amount of money a year to train up soldiers, etc. It would be insane amount of money. We're talking literally billions. And it's not worth taking young people and expecting them to give up, say, a year or so to do military service, when at the same time many people like myself are leaving for Australia. Not like me, but many people like me, Irish citizens, they can't afford to live in Ireland. So why would they go and serve in Ireland in the Irish Defence Forces, say for example, when the Irish government doesn't give a shit about them? As simple as that. And it's a genuine question, because why would you serve under people, and why would you give your life up for politicians to talk shit and talk shops? And none of them are going to be in the front lines. All they've been the bunkers. They've been the bunkers. The same with their children. They won't go out and fight. Simple as that. It won't be them that lose their brothers, their sisters, etc. And it's just the simple reality. Same with what happened in Ukraine. We see Vladimir Putin's not on the front line. And it's just the Russian oligarchs are not on the front line. It's the only Russian person who's going out and being killed and shot. It's the same with the Ukrainian side. It's just the way the world works, and that's just the thing. And people, particularly young people we see in Germany, they're not willing to do it. Nobody's willing to do that. Back in World War One, for king and country. Nowadays, nobody in the UK, they can't get anybody in the British Army. They can't get anybody to do it, because people are not willing to just throw their lives away for politicians, for generals, to get their big medals, etc. Nobody's willing to that. And especially when so many young people, particularly, feel hopeless about the world. They can't get a footing in life. They can't get on the property ladder. They can't survive. They can't have a family. They can't do anything, pretty much. And then you have politicians that are up here with billions of euros, telling them what to do and how they should give up their lives for their country, etc., when their country doesn't care about them. And that's just the sad reality. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. So I'm very much against conscription in this country. The army should be a full-time professional role. That's the way it's always been in this country. Obviously they're not being paid enough in Ireland, so and I don't think we should ever change that. But just take for example, we were talking about Germany. France is bringing about voluntary conscription, the same as Germany, but eventually will be total conscription, the same as they have in the Nordics, particularly Finland, etc. But Finland's always had it, pretty much. It's the foundation of the Finnish state. They've always had conscription, so that's nothing new, pretty much, in the Nordics. They've been having it for years and stuff. And I suppose the whole identity of Finland, etc., speaking to somebody who was there, until recently enough, the whole concept was we pay for your education and stuff and get you into college and get you a good job. And we look after if you get sick, and we look after when you get old, etc. The Nordic welfare state. But the only thing we ask of you is to do a few months of military service, and I think that's fair when you say we're going to look after you, but we ask something in return of you. that small thing. But we're going to look after you if you ever get sick and things, and I think that's good. But particularly in the West, talking over this side, and up until recently that was the case in Finland until the current government came along. But in Ireland and stuff like that, in England and stuff, we've lost our values in the West. And that's, to be totally honest, we've lost our values because we're expecting people to go out and die for nothing pretty much, and that's the thing. And it's a sad thing, and war should be the thing of the past. We should have learned 80 years ago. It achieves nothing. It achieves nothing for the common man. It's just pain and suffering. Seeing your friends and neighbours and everybody die that's belonged to you. It's not worth it. It's not worth anything. But the thing I would say is, it's not necessary for Ireland to bring in military conscription. It is necessary that we pay the troops more, and it's necessary that we increase the numbers, don't get me wrong, but there is Irish men and Irish women that are willing to serve in the Oak Creek and the Heron, and the Defence Force and the Navy and the Air Corps and the Army. But the simple fact is they can't afford to survive, so they can't afford to pay the rent. So why are we expecting soldiers to go out and basically give up their lives for nothing too? And it's the same if war did come. We're expecting people to go out and fight, and when the war is won or lost, they'll never be able to afford their own house and never be able to have a child. We have to look at the West. In the West, we have to take for ourselves and understand why so many young people are just not keen on going out and fighting for their country, because their country, and the simple reality, and they keep saying it, their country doesn't care about them. And it's simple as that. The majority of the Western countries, apart maybe the Scandinavian countries, the Nordic countries, where they get something in return, where they actually get something from the government for their service, etc. In this country, you'd be thrown off the military service. You probably won't even get paid if Ireland brought it in, and you'd be expected to go off and fight in a foreign land for little to no benefit to Ireland. That's what I'm saying. So no Irish person would be willing to do that. Very few. You would get maybe one or two, but that'd be it. You wouldn't get many. But it's just the way I see it, because it's different. Years ago, what was promised in the Second World War, etc., on the British side, etc., that would be better. Your children would have a better tomorrow. They would live in a better world, etc. But nowadays they can't really say that, because everything young people, particularly young people speaking, because it's the young people that will suffer the most. That regardless of what they try and do, try and get a house, try and get a car, try and get a mortgage, try to do this, they always hit back down to the ground. They can't do anything with it. My generation, is just gone. That there's no hope of ever becoming anything, ever progressing in life. And we're expecting people to go out and die for a country that doesn't care for them. And I'm not speaking just in Ireland. I'm speaking about France, in Germany. People can't afford to live. People are struggling. And it's the same with nearly all of Europe, to be totally honest. So we have to look at what I'm trying to say. We have to look if we want people to go out and fight, etc., young people. We have to look at because people, France and stuff, they seem to be aghast that young people are not joining in their droves. It's the same in the United Kingdom and other countries. They're aghast that so many young people doesn't want to go and fight. And to be totally honest, they're right, and that's the thing. Because it'd be different if they were going to get something and stuff, be looked after. But a lot of people are not being looked after in Europe. Not just even in Europe and Ireland and stuff. You look at the matter of homeless people. Why would you go and serve for a government that does that to your own people? That's as simple as that. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more, and bye.